Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. In this video we'll be creating a new liquid title effect in After Effects. So we'll start with a composition of 1920 into 1080 with a 10-second duration. So first we'll create a background. We'll select solid and we can select any colors you want. After that you can actually name it as BG. I'll name it as BG and we'll just lock the layer. So we'll not be moving around or anything like that. After that we can go to the text tool and type in whatever text you want. Here I am typing liquid title. After that you can just select pan behind tool and while holding control you can actually move it to any corner and you can align the word point. After that you can just align this title to the center of the composition. Okay, since that is done, the next thing is we have to start creating our liquid animation. I'm just hiding the text for the time being and we'll select the rectangle tool and we'll select the radial gradient option, and here you can select any colors you want. I'm just selecting a dark blue and a light blue gradient, so we have a water kind of effect, liquid effect. So like I said, you can select any colors you want. Here I am selecting a blue, light and dark blue gradient. After that we'll create a rectangle covering the entire text. We'll make sure that the entire text will be covered and you can actually create the rectangle. After that we'll go into the rectangle options in the content menu in the timeline, and we'll convert it into Bezier path, so we'll be able to edit the path and each of the points in the rectangle. Now that we completed that, we can just enable the letters the title and we'll reduce the opacity and lock it down, so we have a reference. After that we'll just place and make sure the rectangle is covering the entire text, and then we'll go back to the path option and we'll go to around 5 seconds margin and we'll add a keyframe where that the entire rectangle is covering the letter. After that we can select the top points and we'll just move it down and we'll make sure that it's actually below the text layer, so we have an animation of scaling from bottom to the top. After that we can make sure all the gradient, everything is actually properly aligned. Here I'm making sure all the gradient, everything is properly aligned, so we have a gradient, darker gradient from the bottom to the top. After that you can add some easing by selecting the keyframe and pressing F9. Then you can just go back to the graph editor and make the easing a bit more sharper, so you have a more dynamic and a better animation than a linear animation. So by adding that, we actually created a much more smoother option. Then we can go to effects and preset panel. We'll type in turbulent displays, and with this effect only we'll be making the water effect. When you drag and drop it on the rectangle itself, you'll be able to see a lot of changes. You can see as that rectangle is animating, a lot of changes are actually happening. Then you can actually play with the amount as well as the size value to create much more unique effect on that. After that there is an option called evolution as well. If you check with that evolution, you will be able to see a lot of changes in the animation. So we'll add a symbol expression in the evolution by holding Alt and pressing on the stopwatch icon beside that. Then we'll add the expression time times and a particular value. Here I'm giving the value of 50. It will have a much more smoother animation. And if you check the animation now, you can see it's actually having a lot of life and have a unique kind of animation. And then you can actually make sure that the animation, everything is actually properly aligned, everything is properly added. I'm just making sure that rectangle is not moving, it's animated, not moved too much above the text. We are just covering the text only. Then we'll just make a duplicate of that with that layer, and we'll just move a few frames in the timeline, and we can just change the gradient. Here I'm just making a bit lighter gradient from our previous layer, a bit of lighter blue color. And now you can see the first layer will be animating, and after that following the second layer will be there. And then you can actually make some changes. Here I'm increasing the displacement value as well as changing the size, so we have some blobs here and there, and we'll get a much more unique kind of effect. After that, here I'm actually editing the points and making sure it's not going above the text layer. Rather, it's actually covering only halfway around the text, so we have some gaps here and there. With that gap, we'll be able to see the background colors, everything like that. So we have a kind of a gradient from lighter color to background darker color, and we have that layer option as well. After that, you can make a one more duplicate. Here I'm doing that one more duplicate, and I'm moving the layer a bit more further than the second layer. And after that, you can make the colors. Again, you can change the colors. Here I'm going to make the colors a bit more lighter compared to the second layer. So you can actually select any random colors like that. But here I want a connection from the lighter color to darker color. That's the reason I'm doing it like that. After that, you can just press OK, and just like before, you can actually play with the amount, turbulent displacement amount value, as well as the size value, and you can just move down that path a bit more towards the end. Only that it's covering the bottom area of that letter. So we have 3 layers with almost 6 color variations. So that gives us a more unique look and more liquid look, and we have that layering as well. So here I'm only doing 3 layers. If you want, you can do as many layers as you want. After completing that, you can just bring back the opacity of the text, and then you can go to the track matte option and pick with the track matte parenting option, and you can just connect each of these layers to the text. So here I'm starting with that first layer. So when you connect it, you can see the entire layer will be disappeared, and you can see that slowly it's animating, and the animation is more like that, in a glass that liquid is filling, that kind of effect. And by masking out each of these layers, you will be getting a much more unique look, and one by one each of these liquid layers will be filling up the text, and that gives us more life and more creative output to our title. With that, we completed the basic title animation. The next thing is we can select all of these layers, including 3 of these liquid animation layers as well as the text layers, and we can just pre-compose them. And before that, you can actually, one thing you can do is you can assign that turbulent displacement option to the letter itself to give a little bit of liquid kind of feel. Here also you can actually add a symbol expression like time times a value that you desire. Here I am starting with a lower value and checking if it's fine, and if that makes any changes to our text title. And if it's not making any significant changes to your text, you can actually play with that value. Here I am changing that value to 70, so we have a much more prominent effect compared to a lower value. So once you are happy with that result, like I said before, you can actually select all the layers, and you can pre-compose the entire layer, so that way you will be able to move it around, and you can actually make duplicates and change the text, everything like that. Here I'm finally adding a drop shadow, so we have a much more visibility. So you can actually add maybe stroke effect or glow effect or strobe shadows, anything like that. Here I'm just adding a simple drop shadow with maybe 20 or 30 opacity and a bit of softness. That makes that entire layer much more unique and much more interesting. So with that, we just completed our simple liquid effect title animation. You can experiment with all that value, and you'll be able to create much more depth and creative titles like that. So I hope you guys like the video, and if you like the video, please share the video as well as, and if you don't like the video, you can always dislike. And if you want to see similar videos in the future, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.